LA Police Detective Mark Corley heads over to a police station as he has learned that his estranged son Trent was locked up after getting into a fight. Mark wants Trent to learn his lesson, but his former partner Detective Garcia reminds him this is Trent's third offense and he would not get off easily. He knows things have been rough between them since Mark's adopted daughter Rose passed away, but urges them to sort through their issues as this is the last time he can help Trent out. Mark and Trent get back to the truck. He scolds Trent for throwing his life away and doesn't want to hear his side of the story. The truck won't start, so they decide to take the train instead. There, Mark tries reaching out to Trent, urging him to change his life around before it gets too late. Trent explains that he just punched the guy once for saying something about him, but Mark is impressed he broke a guy's jaw with only one punch. As the ride continues, the train suddenly comes to a jolting halt and loses power. On the surface, blue lights descend from the skies and illuminate the city. The passengers recover from the sudden stop, and Mark learns from the train operator that the power and also the radio are down, and Mark knows something is terribly wrong. The train shakes once more, and the train operator tries telling everyone to sit, but on the radio she hears people talking about not looking into the lights. The tremors are becoming consistent, so Mark opens the train door and begins assisting the passengers off. As they start walking, everything around them begins to shake like an earthquake, but they have no idea what is going on. At the station, Garcia steps out of the restroom to find the station lobby empty and papers scattered around like people left in a hurry. Another cop, Jones, also steps out of the restroom, confused as to where everybody went. On the street, a blind man, Sarge, stands confused as people around him are lured toward the bright blue lights. The train group finally gets to a train station. There, Trent notices the blue lights coming from the surface and goes to check it out. He gets to the escalator to see the blue pulsating light, but a woman steps into the light and seemingly becomes mind-controlled. Trent tries to stop her from going into the light, but he also gets caught in its power. Mark notices what's happening and tries getting to Trent while trying to avoid the light. They join up with other mind-controlled people who are being pulled up into the sky into a massive ship, but Mark manages to get to Trent and grab onto him and stop him from being taken. At the station, Garcia and Jones see the pulsating lights outside and go to see ships taking people from all over the city. Mark, Trent, and the train operator then rush back down to the subway with other survivors trying to figure out what is going on. Trent slowly recovers from the effects of the light, and Mark decides they must get moving. They are following the train tracks when they suddenly encounter Garcia and Jones, who tell them about their experience back at the station and how shaken up they are. They don't think there is anywhere to go, but Mark thinks they need to find resources in the military, but they cannot stay in one place. Sarge has also escaped underground and joins the group. They walk for a while until they get to a service station, and Mark peeks outside where he sees a massive UFO sending out probes and US fighter jets close in. Jones radios for extraction, but the man on the other end warns them to clear the city fast. In the air, B-2 bombers close in on the ship. One releases a nuclear payload which hits the ship and decimates the city. The blast collapses the tunnels, and after the dust settles, a few of the survivors are dead. Sarge explains it must have been a tactical nuke from his military experience. As they are looking for a way out, Garcia is suddenly grabbed by an alien creature that starts emitting the same blue light. Trent gets caught in it once more, but Mark hits the creature with shotgun blasts, killing it. He then helps Garcia out of the creature. As the group catches their breath, the creature grabs Jones and rips her brain out, which it inserts into itself to rapidly heal. The group scrambles to get out of the hole, but the creature grabs Mark and yanks him back down. He uses a flare to scare it off before dropping it in a nearby car, which explodes, burning the creature to death. On the surface, they see the downed alien ship in the distance, which slowly begins to repair itself. The group runs to take shelter under a bridge when a towering alien creature starts coming after them. Garcia doesn't think he will make it as he is severely injured and plans to buy the group some time. He turns to face the creature and fires a shot, but the alien just snatches him up. The others get to the docks, where Mark calls for anyone on the radios and hears a response telling them to stay put. Some choppers show up on the horizon and they think they're saved, but suddenly a massive alien creature lands before them and fires a beam destroying the incoming choppers. It then petrifies Trent and the train operator with light before they are pulled up into a hovering alien ship overhead. Overcome with grief, Mark fires on the alien creature, willingly allowing himself to be taken by the ship. Sarge is grabbed by the alien, which ascends back into its ship. A smaller alien jumps out of its head like a Jaeger pilot and heads over to a display which shows their current conquest of Earth. Mark jumps awake inside the ship, covered in black slime and surrounded by other captured people. Their mechanical arms are ripping out and collecting the brains of people. Mark and Trent see each other. The arms try going for Trent, but Mark fires his gun, which alerts the alien monitoring the ship. It activates the traction beam inside, trying to get rid of Mark. The beam lifts the bodies, including Trent, and Mark tries hanging on to him, but the mechanical arms grab him by the head. Trent and the others are taken, but Mark shoots the arm, freeing himself. The ship tries flushing him out, but Mark gets his leg impaled and stuck on the outside of the ship. Thinking he is dead, the alien continues its mission, releasing alien probes and more biomachines. Mark climbs back into the ship, determined to free Trent. He gets to an area where the aliens are using the stolen human brains to power their artificial soldiers. He continues looking around and almost vomits at the sight of the rotting bodies left behind after the brains have been removed. He gets to another section where egg-like pods hang from the ceiling. Inside, he sees what looks like a human embryo when suddenly an alien creature attacks him. An alien artificial soldier also turns up, but it attacks the alien creature instead of Mark and kills it. This soldier is different, as its eyes glow red instead of blue like the others, and it stares at Mark. Meanwhile, the alien in charge is alerted and plans to take care of Mark. We then see Trent suspended from the roof of a room along with the train operator Audrey. She has a flare in her back pocket, so Trent lights it to get a better view of the room. Mark follows the alien creature, asking for its help to find his son. The creature notices he is injured and cauterizes his wound before entering another room where a pregnant woman, Elaine, is hiding. She begs for Mark's help as she is going into labor, so without a second thought, he jumps into action and starts consoling Elaine, who reveals she was not due for another 6 months, which is in contrast to the size of her stomach. She reveals that the blue lights triggered the rapid growth of her baby. After she was captured along with her husband Jared, his brain was inserted into the alien artificial soldier, but he regained control of his mind and protected her when the aliens tried to take her baby. Her contractions start getting worse, so Mark starts helping her deliver the baby, but Elaine dies right after giving birth. Mark apologizes to Jared but promises to get his daughter off the ship if he helps him find Trent, and Jared agrees. As they leave, we see the baby's eyes flash red. Meanwhile, Trent manages to free Audrey from her bounds. They begin to swing back and forth, using the momentum to swing her onto a nearby ledge. Mark and Jared begin sneaking through the ship, the baby's cries almost getting them caught. The alien in charge comes upon Elaine and starts closing in on Mark. Jared leads Mark to the ship's armory, where they store their massive biomechanical machines. Jared inserts his hand into a slot which attaches a weapon to his arm and beckons Mark to do the same. Mark reluctantly does, and the alien weapon is attached to his arm. Jared then begins to plant alien power cores around the ship, intent on blowing it up. Trent also somehow gets free from his bounds when they hear Sarge calling for help. Jared leads Mark to the ship's control room, where they scan the ship to locate Trent. Suddenly, the alien in charge bursts into the room, so Jared rips a hole in the ship's walls, which allows Mark to escape to another room. He ends up on the floor of the room where Trent is, so he rests the baby down to help. Right then, mechanical arms appear and start ripping the brains out of the captured people. Mark makes his way up to them, so without a second thought, Trent jumps onto Sarge and begins to swing toward Mark. He manages to grab on and they save Sarge, but Trent is grabbed by one of the tentacles. Mark tries to hold on, but Trent is pulled from his arms and his brain ripped from his body. The machine grabs Audrey, but Mark jumps onto it, which forces it to release Audrey, and they fall to the ground. Meanwhile, the alien in charge confronts Jared, and they begin to battle, but Jared is inexperienced and easily gets fatally injured. Mark gets pinned down by the machine, but he damages and disables it using the weapon on his arm. The alien in charge then lands in the room. Its attention, though, is on the baby crying in the corner, and when Sarge tries to stand between them, it stabs Sarge. Audrey grabs the baby and the alien approaches her, but Jared manages to blow the ship's core, causing the ship to erupt into flames and crash in Laos. On the ground, siblings Suya and Kanya come upon the downed alien ship. Inside, Mark and Audrey survive with the baby, who has now grown even bigger. Mark mourns over Trent's body, and an injured Sarge thinks he didn't deserve to die like that. The alien also survives the crash, and the ship begins to power up once more. Next to the ship is a river, and John and Audrey help Sarge up, and they jump into the river. As they make their way to shore, the ship begins to repair itself. Suya and Kanya stumble upon them just before Sarge dies from his wounds, and they are forced to leave him there. Inside the ship, Trent's brain gets inserted into a soldier, and for a brief moment he struggles for control, but his eyes remain blue. Suya and Kanya escort Mark and Audrey back to their compound at gunpoint. Suya doesn't trust Mark, and when he finds out he is a cop, Suya attacks him while Kanya attacks Audrey. Mark is good, but Suya is the better fighter and is getting the upper hand. They both end up pulling weapons, but at that moment they spot local police in the distance and dive for cover. Suya explains that the cops have gone rogue since the invasion and are killing everything they see. They have to escape, so Mark offers to team up with Suya if he can get the baby to a doctor, and Suya agrees. The group walks for a while until they decide to camp at a spot for the night. Mark explains that he only met one alien, and the others are slaves powered by human brains. He tells them about Jared, and thinks that it may be possible to free the others from their mind control. The next morning, Mark is woken up by a gun to his head as a lone cop has found them, but just before the cop can fire, Suya shoots him. Audrey stops him from killing the cop, suggesting they bring him with them. Suya and Kanya lead the two to an ancient site, which is also the base of operations for their resistance group. They head inside where Mark meets Harper, a scientist and medical officer. He examines the girl, who has aged to 3 years old in the span of 2 days. Suya calls Mark aside as he wants to know more about the girl, but Mark understands as much as he does. He still doesn't trust Mark being a cop, but Mark doesn't trust him either, worse after realizing that his group are drug runners. Harper is analyzing a sample of the girl's blood and is astonished at what he sees. Suya turns up and he reveals the girl is no longer human from the changes to her DNA. Audrey is with the baby when Suya bursts in trying to get to the baby, calling her an alien, until the others manage to intervene. Mark explains how the girl came to be and the brutal experiments taking place on the alien ship. They managed to save this child, and she could be their hope of freeing the other humans. Later, Harper explains that though the girl's growth is astonishing, her body is being burnt out and she will shut down unless she gets a blood transfusion. Her alien DNA would make finding a donor difficult, but Mark thinks since he was weaponized by the aliens, he may be able to help. Later, Harper reveals the results of his research. He was able to extract a blue substance from an alien sac Suya had recovered and found that even though it's alien, it is genetically compatible with human DNA. He suspects that the aliens have been to Earth before and may have even planted humans here, so they can harvest them every few millennia. However, the serum he was able to derive from her blood is able to block the effects of the blue substance, and they just need a proper delivery system to release it. And Mark thinks the alien cannon would work. Meanwhile, 2 aliens leave the recovering alien ship in a scout vessel and begin scanning the surrounding area. Suya and Audrey are planting explosives around the hideout when they hear a sound nearby. They see nothing at first, but an alien suddenly appears and attacks them. Kanya fires on the alien but soon runs out of bullets, and it starts chasing her. Suya hears the commotion on the radios, and they check their cameras to see the alien chasing Kanya into a minefield. The alien hits a mine and goes down, but it soon begins to recover. Kanya backs away but accidentally steps on a mine. Knowing her time is up, she tells Suya goodbye and waits for the alien to get close before detonating the mine. The alien ship then arrives and begins closing in on the compound. The rebels run to grab their guns, and Mark plans to infiltrate the ship. Suya thinks he'll never make it, but Mark is determined to save Trent, so Suya gives him the antidote. The rebels rig the base with explosives, and Mark takes the girl to a room with other civilians, promising to keep her safe. Audrey tries talking him out of his plan, but it's no use as his mind is made up. Mark sneaks out of the base, avoiding the aliens who are closing in on the rebels. One alien probe enters the hideout, but Suya waits until it gets close to an explosive before blowing it up. Another then bursts through the roof, but the men riddle it with bullets. They then prepare for the incoming aliens, but an alien soldier lands behind them, throws Suya aside, and takes out the entire room. It then goes after Suya, who barely manages to avoid its powerful strikes before throwing it into gasoline and setting it on fire. On board the alien ship, the one in charge gathers its soldiers and prepares to head out itself. Mark is still moving among the ruins, getting closer to the ship. He manages to climb on and get inside, holding his gun at the ready. Realizing he needs all the help he can get, Suya frees the rogue cop from his cell and begins leading the civilians out of the base. Mark gets to the ship's cannon to see it fire a blue light, trying to capture the escaping civilians, but one man destroys the light with an RPG. Suddenly, a massive machine being controlled by the alien in charge appears and begins attacking them. On board the ship, Mark prepares to enter the cannon when he is attacked by an alien slave soldier. It goes for the kill when Mark's wedding band falls, causing it to pause and begin to malfunction. Mark realizes this is Trent, but is forced to knock him down to save himself. Outside, Suya is fighting off the incoming slave soldiers, trying to buy time for the civilians to escape. Harper sacrifices himself to save Audrey and the girl from a soldier about to kill them. Mark manages to infect one of the blue sacks with the antidote and throw it into the cannon, causing it to turn bright red, and the effects cause Trent to gain control of the alien body. The cannon prepares to fire, but the alien in charge rips the cannon out of the ship and tosses it aside. Mark gets thrown from the ship and into the carnage of aliens slaughtering the civilians. He sees the device from the armory nearby and weaponizes his arm, killing an attacking soldier. Audrey and the girl are being backed into a corner by soldiers, but Suya, the rogue cop, and Mark turn up, prepared to make a last stand. The three then proceed to wipe the floor with the soldiers closing in around them until they all lay dead. The alien in charge then approaches in his large suit and begins to target the girl when it is suddenly knocked back by another large alien weapon, which opens to reveal alien Trent. The two beasts then charge at each other and begin a massive CGI fight. The alien in charge manages to rip Trent's suit arm off, but Mark hits it with an RPG, urging Trent to fight. The rogue cop is brutally killed by the aliens, and in the confusion of the fight, Audrey loses the girl. The little girl walks over to the alien cannon, and her touch activates it. Seeing this, the alien in charge tries attacking her, but Trent knocks it back before grabbing the cannon and firing at the alien, killing it. The light from the cannon then causes all the slave soldiers to gain control. Trent emerges from his weapon, and without words, he and Mark share a fist bump. A while later, the little girl has now grown into an adult, and along with Trent and the other former slaves, rebuilds the ship and decides to take the fight to the aliens hiding on the far side of the moon. Thanks for watching. If you had a good time, go ahead and hit that like button, drop a comment, and of course, subscribe for more recaps just like this. And hey, don't click away just yet. YouTube thinks you'll love one of these two videos popping up right here, so check them out next.